Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Lot Pop Talks. I am your host, Tyree. And as always, you can catch the rest of or the full episode to the podcast at www.tyreewilson.com. I'll leave a link in the description box and wherever else we can be heard, which is Castbox, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, anywhere that you guys can listen, rate. However, you couldn't just go to the website, you'll catch the full episode there, which really helps me out a lot and get you guys to like, share, and subscribe to not only the podcast, to the YouTube channel, and really share the message that we have on the podcast. As always, I thank you all for being here. Happy 2019 or the end of 2019. We are on the eve of 2020. And I just want to go over a few topics that maybe I haven't created individual videos for, but I just feel like it's time to go over a couple things that I've learned and really share that information with you guys. So the first thing that is not necessarily like information, but more really so a concept that I've come to understand, that I've come to live by, with kid gloves, mind you, kindly and humbly leaning into this mindset, which I think would be very helpful for you guys if you were to adopt it, no matter what it is that's going on with your situation. So let's get right into it. Certain prodigals have come into Facebook groups, Instagram DMs for me and stuff like that, which is awesome because that's starting to understand that the content that we're putting out is leaving open a stage for people who want to get a divorce, to want to open up the dialogue between, not only with me, but we're talking about people of faith and people who want to deal with their spouses, or maybe people who feel like they've had, enough is enough. For those people, those are different types of conversations, and I understand those times will come, and maybe going forward in the years, they listen to more of the content, get to know more of the subscribers, and to speak up more in the comment section or through emails or whatever it is that they use to open up lines of communication. I also want to leave room for people who may not necessarily have a good reason or a great reason or a logical reason to want to get a divorce in the first place. Maybe they're using divorce as a weapon, and that can happen a lot, especially between men and women. I feel like I've seen a lot of cases where, and ladies, you guys can chime in on this or not, or the fellas, whoever's listening can chime in on it, that women tend to use divorce as a weapon. Not all women, certain types of women. Certain types of women use divorce or the threat of a divorce as a weapon. I don't really see as to how or why that's going to help anybody, but it happens. So anyway, that's what this episode is about, and that's what we're going to talk about. So let's paint a scenario, if you will. The man or the woman, doesn't matter, either one. Say you are maybe in a situation where your spouse has decided that in order to get you to do what they want, or to get their way in a situation or in life, they have decided to use your fear of losing them and have initiated the divorce proceedings. And maybe you were blindsided by this. Maybe you never saw it coming. Maybe you got into an argument with them, or maybe a certain situation happened that may have warranted some type of reaction. But to initiate a divorce, that might have been a bit extreme. Of course, it's extreme to us because we don't know who the person is and what they're going through and stuff like that. But they're using it as a weapon. First of all, guys, I want you to know I'm not a preacher. I'm not, I kind of minister, if you will, but I'm not a preacher and I'm not a therapist. So if you want to talk about those things, if you feel like you're being under attack and you want to seek professional help, I advise you to do so. Because these are things that you have to talk about, because an attack, no matter what form it comes in, whether it be verbal or physical, financial, emotional, spiritual, whatever the case may be, that you feel it, it leaves scars on you. Of course, we give our problems and we give our burdens over to God. We leave them at the altar with God, and we have Him stand in for us, and He takes on the task of not only restoring, but healing and piecing us back together, which I highly, highly recommend that you continue doing. But in the event that you feel like you're being punished or someone is attacking you, I've got one strong word of advice for people who are experiencing that very attack. And that is to put your foot down. And this goes for men and this goes for women. For the guys, maybe you're afraid, maybe putting the foot down on your end might mean that someone's whole world comes crashing down. Maybe it feels like you're the bad guy and you don't want to be guilty. Maybe you felt like you've been guilty of a lot of things and this is one thing you don't want to be guilty of. However, if your spouse is using the notion of divorce, the threat of divorce, or the proceedings of divorce as a weapon to get you to back off of her, or to maybe get you to do things that she wants, it is time for you to put your foot down. Ladies, this has nothing to do with the ones who are listening to the podcast. I know that I have some wonderful audience members, but we're going to have to bite the bullet on this one episode, because for my brothers that are in faith and for my sisters in faith, the enemy is using every angle he can. And he will use every angle to his disposal as long as we as Christian men and women are open and we leave ourselves defenseless when things like that arise, when an attack arises and we have no way of dealing with it. And you logically might want to decide, okay, well, if my spouse is upset with me, maybe I should do something to try to calm her down. Or if my spouse is worried about some type of money, or how I'm spending money, or how I'm making money, I need to find a better way to secure her with funds, or secure him with funds, so that he's got the money to do what he needs to do, and she's got the money to go do what she needs to do, and nobody feels like anybody's taking anything from anybody. The enemy wants you to concentrate on the loss of resources in your house, to make it feel like whatever it is you had is never enough, and that is not what God does to us, okay? God doesn't do that to us. God wants you to look at everything that you have, take an accountability, everything that you have, and let go of the things that was never yours. Money is great to have. Love is great to have, but that's given to you. You earn that. That's not a God-given right. So if anybody is using their love, if anybody's using their resources to attack you, men and women alike, my brothers and my sisters in faith, the word today is to put your foot down. Sometimes I mess up, but it's, forgive me, I'll go on video, which I rarely do. But you're gonna have to put your foot down. And you're probably like, but things are going to get worse. And I totally agree, things may definitely get worse. But if you don't make your presence be known, and the things that you are for, the things that you're not for, who are you doing this for? Okay, I've seen people, and I don't want this to happen to you. I have seen many, many people say that I'm doing this because God asked me to. And I understand that God has asked us to do many things, and we are to do those things. However, to live a life of being disrespected, a life of where you can no longer even function as a person, so that it puts yourself in danger, it puts your children in danger, it puts your spouse in, you're high rising your spouse to a point of being an idol in your eye, or maybe they feel like you should be idolizing them. Pride goes before the fall. Okay? If your spouse is questioning you and wondering about your methods and questioning everything that you're about, and you are doing what you can, not only in your own skill set and resources, but you've learned to turn your life over to God, to live a more humble and forgiving life. But those that still choose to attack you, and those who choose to make you feel like you're less than human, I'm not saying you need to attack them back. Please don't get this message mixed up. It's just time to put your foot down. So, sharing time, right? Sharing time. Me and my wife had a conversation that I felt was a bit one-sided at the time, but it was an opportunity for me to listen and hear what it is that my wife had on her mind. And I thank her for being able to do this, because this shows a lot of growth on her part to still want to trust me, to not only hear her problems, but to engage in conversation. Because normally when you hear about a conversation between husband and wife, it's usually about what somebody's doing or what the other person is not doing, or something like that. And sometimes those two planes crash, or clash, or whatever. Those two titans in the house clash every once in a while. And that's going to happen. You're going to have, even when you're not together, even if you're divorced, you're still going to have points where you're going to clash with that other person, because your parenting skills or your adulting skills clash with the other person's adulting skills. It doesn't matter. Any of that, it doesn't really matter. This doesn't even matter if you're divorced, even if you're pending divorce, or maybe someone's threatening you, or maybe you're even thinking of a divorce. Let me tell you something. All you have to do And this could take some time, but all you have to remain doing is be able to open up the lines of communication so that you can, one, hear what's being said to you. So my wife told me that she felt, how can I put this? She felt that I was very stressed, super stressed, not about her, not about our relationship or anything like that, but super stressed as to working on a podcast, working on healing my knees and getting my strength back in my legs, but also trying. She sees me feverishly trying to be a better father, a better provider, a more open man, as well as dealing with talking with my clients and running a group and all this other stuff that I've slowly built over the last two years. And she felt like maybe I didn't spend enough time with her. And so my immediate reaction is to say something like, oh, I am spending time with you, I am doing what I can, blah 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 blah. And I immediately understood this was a mistake. To defend myself in such a way was a mistake, and it's a mistake I've made many times, and it never stopped us from ending up having to go through the divorcing process with one another. And thank God it did not happen, but we definitely initiated, and that was one of the problems that I had. Not that she pointed out, but one of the problems I realized in myself. I'm always quick to defend myself. So when you're putting your foot down, please don't get it mixed up with having to defend yourself. Put your foot down as understanding that you have boundaries, not only for the other person, but the boundaries are for you. So you don't lose who you are as a person, and you can continue to have a meaningful and deep and relationship building type of conversation. That's something you need to take into consideration no matter what stage your relationship is in. So when she got done telling me about the concerns that she had, I chose to, one, breathe. You got to breathe. You got to breathe, because it can feel like a lot, especially when somebody may not necessarily know how to talk to you. Not everybody's going to come to you knowing how to say the exact right thing, and I understand that, and I know that some of you reach out to me because you're looking for me to help you say the exact right thing, and I don't always have that, and maybe you guys have a better way of doing it. Either way, it doesn't matter. My teaching for today is take a deep breath once you process all of what it is that they're trying to say, because it's not always about attacking you. They're just trying to get their voices out. Don't expect a prodigal to have gone through the type of auditory training and listening and studying and meditation that you've been through. Maybe they're doing something, maybe they're not, but they're not doing the same thing you're doing. So don't expect them to approach you the same way that you might approach them. So when I listened to that, I took some time because I wanted to make sure that I asked meaningful questions to her. And the questions were, okay, so when I'm working on X, Y, and Z, it sounds like you feel like I've kind of snuck away some time away from us. And she said, yes. So, and she said an emphatic yes, something like that. So that means by the question I asked, I automatically heard exactly what she was saying. And so when I listened to that, I said, okay, well then I can do better with making sure that we spend time together. And would these steps be helpful? And I said, we can go on a walk. We can make sure that, we don't have much time together because we're really busy, but we can have coffee together. We can go for coffee together. We can go for a walk, or maybe we can just sit down, or maybe we can just lay down. Maybe we can just talk with one another about what do we want to do for our day? What do we want to do for the week? And how do we want to do things with the girls, and how far we want to go with our education and stuff like that. Because me and her, we're like professional students. We love going to school. We love learning things. We're very, very ambitious. A friend of mine says, so that's our thing, and that's in my relationship, that's our thing. We're ambitious people who want to do stuff. And so when I mentioned those things, she said yes, yes, yes. Now why did we do that? Because and I did that because, one, when I'm standing or putting my foot down, that means that, one, I'm not leaving things up to chance. I'm not leaving things up to like whatever. I think it's disingenuous to say, well, God will take care of that and that. God, if you feel like we're not spending time together, well then God will take care of it. There's some people out there, you guys, if you don't know, or haven't heard, there are some people out there, they leave everything, everything that they could be doing, they leave it up to God. And I don't believe that being idle in such a way and being so lazy and passive with everything and I give it all to God, that is not being present in your life. That's not being present in your relationship. That is being a spectator. God did not put you on this planet to be a spectator. I know you guys are watching this video when I say that. Please finish watching this video when I say such a thing. But God didn't put you here to be a spectator. So take part in your life, no matter what it is, no matter where it is. Even if someone is telling you, there's no way that me and you will get back together again. Or maybe they're online and they're posting silly quotes online about how they were never happy to begin with, and that all they ever want to do was love somebody. Or, for your wife is saying, I had to get away from this man and blah, 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 blah. We're not listening to any of that, okay? Most of the time when we have a hard time with people, it's always coming from inside. It's about how we feel, how we think, how we feel like our world is being manipulated by the person we share our lives with. And so that person is the epicenter of all the hard feelings that we have for ourselves, hard feelings about our bodies, hard feelings about our confidence, our anxiety, our bad habits. We all attribute that to that one person who's at the epicenter of it all. And who does that help? It only helps one person, only helps one being, and that being is not here to see you succeed. On this podcast, my goal is to help you succeed no matter what happens. If there's nobody in the fight, what are we fighting for? If no one else cares, we have to keep ourselves uplifted and covered in the Word of God in order for that to happen. So I talked to Tiffany, and when I came up with those points that we could work on, she was with it. Now that I presented that information, it's time to execute. I had to do those things, and I didn't wait for pay period or the next day. Well, I kind of waited till the next day for some of the stuff, but there are some things that you need to do right now. So if someone is threatening you, or you feel like someone is trying to manipulate you with the things and the words and the actions that they're doing and what they say, you need to find some small action you need to take up and say, I will do this, or you say, I will not do this. And take action and then execute that action. Because if you don't do it, even the slightest bit you don't do it, they will take that as that's a wedge in the door that will open up a new floodgate for them to take advantage of you once again. And they will. A prodigal is not evil in nature. There's no evil prodigal. They're not trying to destroy you. But what they will do is take advantage. And some women and a lot of men, when they've taken advantage of you, they know they're doing wrong. But they don't care. Because you keep letting them do it. And they're going to keep doing it because you keep letting them do it. You keep letting them do it. Letting people disrespect you. Letting people know that they irk your nerves. Letting people bring disarray and chaos to your life is not honoring God. That is not honoring God. God brings order to the chaos. Okay? Order. He brings leadership. He teaches leadership. He shows an example of leadership through servants, self-sacrifice, dying to the self. That's what God has done, and He sent His only Son on earth to show us that example. Okay? But not once did Jesus allow someone to just overrun Him and the mission that God sent Him here to complete. The same can be said for your life. 2020, 2020, however you want to say it, is the year where you put your foot down. somebody, anybody, maybe just you, has to decide, I'm in this thing too. And it's time for me to say something. It's time for me to decide what I will do. Within my power, what can I do? And then it's time to execute. Execute those plans. Execute that feeling. Execute the word of God, because it is for you to follow. A prodigal is not the leader. They think they are, but they're not. Okay? A prodigal is a partner that is a person who has lost what their way once was. And they're in the middle of a change. They're in the middle of another transition. And they're not sure if what comes out on the other side of that transition is going to be safe for them and for everyone else to be around. Your job as a standing spouse is to continue to pray over their transition. Pray over their life, because they still have a life to live too, no matter who they choose to live it with, no matter how hard they live or how passive they live, or maybe they want nothing to do with you. You pray over them because you might be the only one who's praying over them. You might be the only one. And I'm telling you, my brothers and sisters, I have seen standards who have stood just a few months. And I know too that even a few months can feel like death. And I know those who have been standing for years. And you know how they get through it all? They learned how to let go and let God. Someone once asked me, Ty, how do you just let go? How do you just let God? What is that? What is letting go and letting God? How do I just allow someone to do all these things? I don't want to get a divorce. I don't want to sign paper. I don't want to have to deal with lawyers and separation and 2 different homes and mediations and all that. How do I just let go and let God? I'll be honest with you, it is not as simple as it may sound. And I know it's not simple, because even when I decided to let go and let God, it took much on my part, poking and prodding from God, basically, for me to understand that it's Him who's in control, not me. And I'll tell you what it is. You have to decide that, 1, you don't know everything. You don't know everything. You don't know why this person decided to no longer want to be with you. You don't know why. You can speculate, you can accuse, you can think about, you might even investigate. And maybe some truth may be uncovered. But at the end of the day, everybody is responsible for their own lives and the choices that they make. I learned to let go and let God by deciding and choosing to recognize that no matter how well I think or how fast I calculate a situation or whatever that may be, I don't know everything. And I was finally good with that, because that means it was time for God to take over. That's what He wants you to know. You don't know everything. There are a lot of things in this world you do know, but could you imagine if you knew everything? What if somebody knew everything about you? I mean, everything, not just the stuff you want people to know. What if they knew about the stuff you never wanted them to know? What if not only you knew what other people were going through and what they've been through or what they've decided to go through and what they've never told you? What if you knew more than you cared to know? What if you knew more than 10 people on your block? You knew everything about their life. You knew everything. What would you do with that information? What could you do with that information? Depending on what you want to do with that information, you can do good, you can do bad, but then that's a matter of perspective. Good and bad is a matter of perspective. to a ant, the spider is terrifying. It's certain death. It's bad. To the spider, the ant is food, sustenance. I don't mean to kill you, but it's in my nature. I need sustenance. So you're good for me. It's a matter of perspective. Good and bad is a matter of perspective. But what if you knew everything? I thank God I didn't know everything. That's what he showed me. No matter how much I thought about, I knew my wife, and I've known this woman since I was 14 years old. I didn't know everything about her. I knew a lot. Even the stuff she didn't want me to know, I know. But there are still some things I still can't make up her mind, no more than she could make up mine. So, who is the only being available, the only being that makes himself known, the only being that lives with you and me right now at this very moment? Who could know everything that I and my wife and you and your spouse and your children have ever been through, and still promise to restore you, your mind, your heart, your family? That's God. It's only Him. You have to put your foot down. You have to be able to do that. Not only with their spouse, no matter what it is they're doing, but you've got to do it with you. Because it's got to stop somewhere. And it's got to start somewhere. Let 2020, let this year be the year that you put your foot down. Let it be the first foot you put down as you start walking towards the purpose of your life that God has for you. Keep walking. Put your foot down. Put the next one down. When you're planting your feet when you walk, it means that you stand firm in the Word of God. And you know who you are as an individual, what you will go for and what you won't. Your willpower is given and sent to God. It's an amazing circle. He will give it to you. You send it back. He will give it to you. You send it back. He'll give it to you. You send it back. Through God's will, you can take another step. Through God's will, you can take another step. Your spouse will see that the games that they want to play won't work. You'll see that the messages that they send you, if their actions don't match, they mean nothing. They mean nothing. This world is full of people who are half-stepping, people who are lukewarm in their faith, who are in and out of your life, I'm sorry, my friends who like to keep the door open. 2020 is your year to close that door. You've got to close that door because it's time for you to grow in your faith. And the people who are ready for you, the person that wants to spend their life with you, the person that will realize that where they are would be quantified by the might of God, as long as they're obedient in their marriage with you, those people will return. That spouse will show up. And it is important that choosing to stand your ground now means that you will not close your heart off later on. It's important that you do not grow a heart full of resentment because you concentrated so much effort on things you could never control. The only one responsible for you is you. That's going to end today's episode, you guys. This is the last year that we allow people to walk all over us, that we allow our own feelings to walk all over us, that we allow the enemy to take foothold in the corners of our psyche. 2020 is going to be your year. 2020 is going to be my year. But 2020 belongs to God. We do it to please our Lord and Savior. And no matter what happens, it's happening because we're built for it. We can handle it. We can take it. We can learn from it. And we can grow. I want to thank you guys again for catching this lengthy podcast episode. As always, you can sign up and join the podcast at www.tyrewilson.com. I have an amazing year of updates, resources, offers, news, and I cannot wait to share it with you all of you. I love you guys. I do. And I'll see you next year.